Are you a quick, rash decision maker? Or do you take a lot of time to make a decision and then regret later about it? Are you interested to improvise your decision making skills? Do you want to improvise your thinking style? Are you curious to explore the blind spots in your thinking style to improve every area of your life? In short, anyone who's interested to know how our mind works and how people solve problems and make judgments should definitely read this book. Do you know? There is a lot that is going on in our mind before we take every simple or complex decisions in our life. We can totally be blind about certain biases in our mind, and more importantly, we are not even aware that we are dealing with those challenges in our mind. Let's dive into the book on psychology, Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman, who has won the Nobel Prize in Economics. This book requires a slow, mindful reading, and it is not a book for a quick one-time casual read. The facts you learn from this book creates a lot of bulb-on moments throughout the book. The book uses behavioral economics principles to explain how we think and why shouldn't we believe everything that comes to our mind. This book will help you understand two important facts about our mind that rules our life. Number one, being blind to obvious. Number two, being blind to our own blindness. Reading this book, you become more conscious about your thinking style and you get an opportunity to rationalize your thoughts with control and take right decisions. Let me share into three key takeaways from this masterpiece. Number one, our two systems control our behavior. Our human brain consists of two systems. Author calls these two distinct modes of our mind as System 1 and System 2. System 1 is automatic, emotional, effortless, and intuitive with a fast thinking style, whereas System 2 is deliberate, mature, and requires mental effort, engaging in logical analysis, offering a slow thinking style. While playing games where decision making has to happen in the next few seconds or maybe during emergency, System 1 is used. System 1 has the ability to make very quick decisions and judgments based on its intuitions from past experiences in life. For any mindful work, say you have to solve a mathematical problem or involve in money calculation, System 2 is used. It is the part of the brain that is actually responsible for an individual's decision making and logical reasoning skills. By and large, how we use these two systems effectively decides our ability to analyze the situation rightly and make correct decisions. As I said earlier, System 1 is instant and it picks up every task, and only if it feels unclear on giving the right answer, it calls System 2 to solve the problem. And System 2 is generally very lazy and it needs a trigger from System 1 to start functioning. For example, if you happen to look at a book cover, your System 1 will start functioning and it gives certain perspectives about the book based on its intuition. That can be right or wrong, but since System 1 is very confident sharing its perspective, it is not going to trigger System 2 to work on this task. This is because System 1 is functioning in a totally involuntary and effortless in nature and it is confident on the answer it has provided. Let's consider another example where you see a three-digit multiplication problem, say 543 multiplied by 678. Upon presenting you with this multiplication problem, System 1 realizes it can't handle it and it will immediately pass it on to System 2 to take it over. System 2 uses logical thinking skills to solve this multiplication problem. In this case, as you can realize, System 2 pays a lot of attention to details and it requires mental effort and critical thinking to solve this problem. And when System 2 is doing its work, we can notice dilation of pupil and slight increase in the heartbeat rate. When System 2 is working, in general, there is an energy drain. Considering the observation about the dilation of a pupil when System 2 is functioning, It is called the window to our soul. Number 2, difference between system 1 and system 2 and what is law of least effort. Both system 1 and system 2 interact very closely and we need both these systems. While system 1 generates instant ideas, system 2 is responsible for crucial thinking. If we don't use system 2, our mind gets limited intelligence level. Remember, system 1 is often biased and prone to make systematic errors. And the task of system 2 is self-control and to overcome the impulses of system 1. Our brain generally tries to use minimum amount of energy. This is known as the law of least effort. Because using system 2 requires more energy, mind won't call system 2 directly. It first gives the task to system 1. System 1 thinks, is it good enough to handle the problem? Only if it feels it is not confident, it's going to pass it on to system 2. We need system 1 for quick decision making in emergencies. We need system 2 for slow logical decision making based on detailed analysis. Hence, the key here is to become aware of how we think so we can avoid significant mistakes when the stakes are high, particularly when we are using system 1 to solve the problems. Number 3, heuristics and biases that influence our system 1 thinking, which leads to wrong decisions. Generally, as I said earlier, system 1 gets influenced by various illusions and heuristics, and it is error prone. And unfortunately, it made me a bit scary too when I realized we are totally unconscious about all these things happening within ourselves when system 1 is functioning. Now, by becoming aware of them, we can become highly conscious of all our decisions, reducing the probability of errors. Author shares more than 50 plus illusions in this book. I would strongly recommend to read this book and become aware of all these 50 plus heuristics completely. I've picked up 5 key heuristics that I found useful for improvising my thinking style that I'll be sharing it with you now. Number 1, priming effect. Our human mind, when exposed to an idea, it gets often primed to it. Both at a conscious and subconscious level, lot more things happen within ourselves. For example, people reading about elderly folks will unconsciously walk slow. The key here is many things are happening at subconscious level and you are not aware of it. Now, you can understand why you shouldn't be with negative people, why you shouldn't be with negative environment. And how can we go wrong here is we are not objective rational thinkers. We get easily influenced by our environment, what we hear, what we see, and we change our behavior totally that we are not even aware of. Number 2, cognitive ease. We feel so comfortable and accept the fact presented in a clear fashion or in an easy to understand way, or we feel it familiar. If there is a cognitive strain, then we might tend to ignore it. This is the fact considered by all the advertising agencies to market the products using a simple, easy to understand and appealing stories, and we keep hearing it repeatedly. Often we start believing it is true. And how we can go wrong here is if we hear a lie often, we tend to believe it is true. Number 3, halo effect. This is a tendency to like or dislike everything about a person, including the things you have not even observed. That's why we talk about making a first good impression, right? If your first impression is great, then we tend to take any later negative impressions positively and it vice versa holds good true. How we can go wrong here? System 1 easily jumps in and concludes based on its first impression, be it positive or negative. So author recommends readers to remember this simple phrase, what you see is all there is. Do not lean on information based on your impressions or intuitions. We need to explore what you are really seeing without living in our intuitions to make right decision. Number 4, endowment effect. The things we own and use will seem more valuable than those objects we don't own and use. Just because our car has a history with us, we get emotionally struck while selling it. At the same time, if you don't like or use, say, some jewelry, you will be biased to sell it for a lower price. How we can go wrong here is we get sentimentally attached to things we value high or low, and this would lead to a considerable financial loss. Number 5, ignore ourselves, which are two selves in fact. We have two selves functioning within ourselves. One is remembering self, number 2 is experience self. Experience self is about what we experience when a situation happens, and it is voiceless, whereas remembering self is always about what we remember out of that experience. Experience self is voiceless, and remembering self always dominates and takes precedence. Say if you plan for a 15 days vacation and you had a wonderful time there, your experience self feels so great about your vacation. Let's assume on your 15th day you face a problem, say a car breakdown. Your memory will claim that vacation is negative. It will remember your peak emotion time or the worst time, and it will start influencing your thinking. Your experience self will remain voiceless, and your remembering self will start dominating. How we can go wrong here is our intuitions could be created from bad illusion that we created from our past experiences, and that need not be necessarily real. Since we always value our remembering self, we tend not to pay full attention to the present moment, letting our past experiences to decide our happiness level. Say, if you're not in a great mood, you will remain upset even if you watch a good comedy. So these are my key takeaways from this awesome book, Thinking Fast and Slow. To summarize, we learned about two systems that decides our behavior. System 1 works automatically. It is usually involuntary and quick. It operates effortlessly but often gets influenced by various heuristics, and it is always error-prone. Whereas System 2 works meticulously and rationalizes the ideas, it applies its logical skills, and it is slow. It requires conscious effort to concentrate, and it can be witnessed using pupil dilation, for example. It can be right or wrong depending upon how hard it works. It is less error-prone as it examines the heuristic with its logical skills. Our thoughts and thereby our actions will largely differ depending upon which system is involved in our decision making. Our behavior is largely decided by this system that controls our brain at any time. Do you use System 1 or System 2 majorly for your decision making? If you want to improve your decision making skills, block the errors that originates from System 1, recognize the signs that you're using your System 2, slow down, and ensure to take support from System 2 to make right decisions when your stakes are really high. Thank you for watching this video. This is Ramya here, committed for your 1% consistent improvement. I'll be sharing key takeaways from some of the best self-development books. If you like this video, do like and subscribe to my channel. Take care. Bye.